Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you see here and the musicians and artists I visit with, please be sure and hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Alan Powell is an English-born drummer who has called the San Francisco Bay Area home since 1979. Alan began his musical journey in 1964 by joining Manchester R&B band Ivans Meads. The band released a couple of singles before calling it a day in 1967. Alan would resurface playing on a 1973 single by Vinegar Joe, as well as with Chicken Shack on a 1974 live album. Also in 1974, Mr. Powell joined Hawkwind as a second drummer and played on two albums in 1975 and 1976. Around the same time, Mr. Powell would play on recordings by Mick Farren, Michael Moorcock, and Nik Turner. In the late 70s, he formed a touring band, Kicks, with ex-Hawkwind member Paul Rudolph, and also Tanz Der Youth with Brian James of the Damned. In 1979, Alan relocated to San Francisco and fronted his own band, Joe Allen and the Shapes, releasing a single. During the 1990s, Alan reunited with members of Hawkwind for several North American tours. Well, welcome, Alan.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you for taking time out to visit. Well, take us back to the beginning. Were you born in Manchester?
Just outside of Manchester, a little town called Middleton.
Okay. How far is that from Manchester? Is it
7 miles?
Okay, all right, yeah. The only time I've been to the UK was to Manchester,
Yeah.
25 years ago. So, yeah, that was my only visit. Well,
that was the last time I was there.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Manchester's not you. When you go to Britain, Manchester's not usually the first place you want to go to.
Right.
Like going to America and going, I got to go to Detroit, man. I can't.
That's funny. I'm sorry. I'll have to tell you the reason behind that. I didn't just go there just to, pick a spot to take tours and see. I went to see a band there. There's one of my favorite bands, and I didn't think that the band would ever come here. So we went there to see them. That's the only reason I went to Manchester.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you recall your early childhood growing up as far as was there music in the household?
Yeah, well, I remember we had a record player, and I'd play Elvis Presley and the Shadows and stuff like that, But the reason I got into music, I went to this local youth club.
Okay.
I guess I was like 13 or 14 at the time, and there was a band on, and they were a band playing Shadows type songs, which is like the Ventures.
The Ventures, right?
And so they're looking, and a girl was screaming at them, and I thought, oh man, I'm so there, and that's obviously the way to get some attention. So I joined that band eventually, and that's how I got into playing drums. And then once I got into that, then suddenly the Beatles were on the scene, and that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
speaking of the Shadows, doing these interviews, I've heard how influential Hank Marvin's playing has been, for so many musicians.
All the great British guitarists, Jeff Beck, and onward down, they end up all being Hank Marvin fans. I went to see Hank Marvin at the Royal Albert Hall, mid-90s.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm looking around, and there's David Gilmour a few seats away. There's Jeff Beck over there. There's Brian May from Queen, and they're all sitting there with their mouth open looking at Hank Marvin because he was the originator.
Yes, he was. You're right. And he's still around. Yeah,
still around. Lives in Australia now, I believe.
Oh, that's right. He did relocate. You're right. Yeah. Well, were either one of your parents musical or musically?
No.
No. Okay.
No, they weren't. But they supported me, which was great. They bought me a drum kit on hire purchase where you paid like a few quid every month, which was really great. But they weren't musical.
Okay. Did they actually let you play drums in the house while they were there?
Yeah, we did. And they loved it.
Okay, fact, because the
neighbors liked it so much that they broke all the windows so they could hear me better.
Oh, is that right? Okay, I've heard stories. We could only play while the parents were gone, or I had to play in the attic or the basement or whatever, like that. Wow. Okay. Well, I wonder where that musical gene came from. How about your grandparents, or was there any
No,
relatives? Okay.
I don't think so. I think it was just suddenly there I was playing drums, and it's all I wanted to do. I was a fanatic.
Okay. Well, it takes fanaticism, I tell you, especially with music. Well,
Yeah.
what was were the drums first instrument you learned to play?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. And about how old were you? Did you say?
I think I would be 14 when I first started, and then by the time I was 16, I turned pro.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the next 30 years did nothing but play drums with more bands than I had hot dinners.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you honed your chops real quickly there,
Yeah.
for years. Well, uh, can you recall one of the first singles or albums that you bought that you got?
Yeah, it was an Elvis Presley album,
Oh, okay.
one of his early albums, and then shortly after that, I would be like the first Beatles album.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then I bought, EPs by the Searchers. So I was really into that whole Mersey beat stuff. That started in 1962 with the Beatles, Searchers, all those bands. I was a devotee.
Okay. Well, so I don't forget about it. You messaged me and said that you auditioned for the Searchers. What
No, this is a
what
crazy
happened?
thing.
Yeah.
Uh, towards the end of the 60s, 68, 69, I was playing in a band. We were a backing band for people like Del Shannon would come over. We'd back Del Shannon. And the Searchers were also doing this circuit called Cabaret. It was like clubs, really nice clubs, kind of like a Las Vegas type thing, actually.
Yeah.
And they must have seen me playing and thought, oh, okay, we'll write his name down for future reference. So when the Searchers drummer left, I got a call from one of them asking if they could meet me in Manchester. So we met at a Wimpy bar in Manchester, which is like the White Castle or something. And they want to know, was I interested in joining the band? This was just 3 or 4 years after they'd been my idols. Suddenly they're asking if I want to join. But by this point, I said no, because the band I was in, the backing band, the six-piece backing band, we just got a 6-month gig in the Bahamas. So I'm not going to give that up for anything. So
Right.
the Beatles come out.
No.
6 months in the Bahamas, yeah, baby, I'm so there. So that was that. But it
Yeah.
was just so odd that they'd ask. I
Yeah.
got offers from various bands. Uriah Heep asked if I wanted that's about the same time, about 1970 that'd be. I think when they were just forming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never heard of them. No, no, thanks. I'm not.
Yeah. If you could look into the future, right? If you could just have that. I know. I know. Wow.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
have worked out anyway.
Okay. All
And
right.
then Motorhead, when after Lemmy got fired from Hawkwind, and later on I got fired, it was
Yeah.
he wanted to know, you want to get together, man. And I thought, no, because it wouldn't work out. I'd already at that point decided I was getting out of Britain. I couldn't take the weather any longer. It was just so that didn't happen either. But wouldn't have worked out anyway.
It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, can you recall or remember one of the first live shows that you attended, that you went to see a band?
The first live show, well, that would be that youth club where I saw that band playing, and that was which sort of lured me into so that was the first thing I remember.
Okay. How about a big name band of one of the first ones that you saw?
Okay, let's see, who would be the first big name band I saw? It's the Shadows,
Okay.
live at a theatre in Manchester.
Okay.
They were at that time that they were my idols. And I saw them. That was really something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like their instrumental material. Their backing, Cliff Richard is okay, but I
That's
prefer
right.
their own material.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
but yeah. Well, what we're going to talk a little bit about some early musical influences for you.
My early influences would definitely be the Beatles. I wanted to play like Ringo Starr, and I got that down. Jimi Hendrix. I really liked Mitch Mitchell with the Jimi Hendrix. They were.
Yeah.
Who else would be? Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Rolling Stones, of course. You know, I mean, everybody was affected by the Rolling Stones. Those are my three main influences right there.
Okay, okay, yeah. You know, there's been over the years some criticism of Ringo's drumming, but you know, he was very accomplished and he was perfect for the Beatles. I mean, he
It
was,
was fantastic. And the
yeah,
thing about Ringo Starr is what you call a pocket drummer. He doesn't do anything fancy, flash, or unnecessary. He just play. He provides a solid, rock solid beat, and he was perfect for the Beatles and the
yeah,
songs they were doing. Every
yes,
drummer who starts off should forget about trying to be flashy with a million cymbals and 50,000 drums and
yeah,
listen to pocket drummers, Ringo Starr, Charlie Watts, Jim
right,
Keltner. That's, you know, they add to the song that they're playing with rather than, you know, show off their own particular
right,
virtuosity.
right, exactly. Well said, well said. Well, what was the music scene like around you as a teen, you know, before you started playing, you know, in bands?
Fantastic. There were two places in Britain where the music scene was just going crazy. One was Liverpool, the other
Yes,
one was Manchester.
yeah,
Third place was London. At that time, in the early 60s and up to about 65, 66, Liverpool and Manchester were just the hottest places to be.
yeah,
I mean, it was that good that the Who actually got management in Manchester, first of all, before they signed with people in London, because the area around there was just on fire. The
yeah.
band I was in at the time, we were playing 4 or 5 nights a week without traveling more than 100 miles. You know, there were so many clubs open. You could actually make a living just by without going that far away from you
Oh,
know, just the local scene. It was that good.
yeah. Oh, that's nice to have it real convenient, like you said,
Yeah, it
around at that time. Well,
was.
what was the band's name?
That band was called Ivans Meads.
Oh, that is okay. We're
Yeah,
up to that point. Okay.
yeah.
I thought you might have been in a band prior to that. Okay. All right. Ivans Meads. Okay. All right. Well, how did talk about how the band formed, how everybody got together?
I was actually playing like a rehearsal band, and they'd heard I was available. They were all from that small town I grew up in, Middleton, and they knocked on my door and said, "Hey, well, you want to come and play drums?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So, and that's how it started.
Is that right?
And then after,
They must have heard you play before.
I guess so. And
Yeah.
then from them, I went to that six-piece band that we did the cabaret circuit called Richard Kent Style. They
Oh,
released they released a couple of records, 2 or 3 records, and from then we got the gig in the Bahamas. And once I'd gone to the Bahamas, everything changed. You know, I suddenly got back and thought, what am I doing living in Manchester when you know sunny and blue sea over there?
right. I had one guy I talked to talk about recording down there, Chris Blackwell, you know, Island
Yeah, yeah,
Records, you know, down, and how distracting it was, you know, because you're in paradise, you know, and so it was hard to, you know, be disciplined in the studio because,
yeah,
you know, when they had breaks, they would be out by the on the beach and
yeah.
things like that, you know.
Well, there's actually you know, I did a lot of stuff with Robert Palmer, which we'll talk
Yeah.
about later.
Yes.
And he had a home right there in Nassau,
Oh,
across the street from Compass Point Studios, which was Chris Blackwell's studio. And
right.
I stayed with him quite some time actually, writing stuff together. That some of it which went on his albums. And the thing about it is, you're in paradise. You know, you get up every day. It's gorgeous. You got the beautiful turquoise blue sea there, the sun,
Yeah.
palm
Yeah.
tree, but it gets boring.
Yes. Right.
After 6 months of it, you're going, God, get me out of here.
Yeah, I
Go to New
guess it would.
York and hang out, you know, that
I
kind
guess
of.
I guess it
But
would.
it's
Yeah.
not, it's not, you know, there's no great stimulus there. You need to have an idea of what you're going to do before you get there, then you can carry it out because you know it's a good place to sort of to do your stuff. But but creatively, you want to get it together before you get there because it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, but ultimately it becomes boring.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds
I went
crazy.
to took a trip many years ago to Ocho Rios, Jamaica.
Yeah,
And you know, it was maybe for what, 2 or 3 days, I guess it was, you know. And it was nice, beautiful, you know, the beaches and everything like that. And
yeah.
drinking the rum
Oh yeah.
drinks. Yeah, that was
Oh yeah.
fun. You got to do that.
Brutal, brutal.
Right. Wow. Well, see, doing the research, I didn't see Richard Kent Style. I didn't see
Yeah,
you.
it might have slipped out there, but
Okay.
they were
Yeah.
a six-piece band, very capable.
Yeah.
They released records under their own name, but we were very popular as a backing band. You know, we backed a guy called Dave Berry, who was a British, well-known, you know, major artist in Britain who was really great. Del Shannon, whenever he came here. Paul Jones from Manfred Mann, you know, the lead singer with Manfred Mann,
Yes. Yes.
backed him. And then our own gigs as well. So we were busy all the time.
Yes. Okay. Wow. And you had several releases, you said. Well, oh yes, Dave Barry. Okay. Yeah. I love his was it Girl from the Fair Isle?
One of the two. And then he also did the Crying Game as well,
The
which was
Crying Game. Yes, he did. He did
yeah.
that one
Dave
too.
Berry was a fantastic. I thought he was great. You know, he was the polar opposite of Mick Jagger. You'd go
Yes.
on stage and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Berry," and we'd start playing. Dum, 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 dum. You would see him for like 3 or 4 minutes. And at
Right.
the start of the stage, a hand would come out like that with a silver bracelet, and he'd shake it and move it. So, and the spotlight would reflect off it. Then he'd
Yeah.
kind of put his head back, and he'd have his coat, his collar of his coat like this. And
Like
then
this.
he went on stage, you know, walking very slowly. All
Yeah.
of his movements were slow and like that. He was like a cat. And
Yeah.
exactly the opposite from Jagger, who was, you know, giving it all of that, you know.
Right.
And he was great. He was excellent. So, you know,
Right.
I never really caught on in America, but all over Britain and Europe, he was quite the guy.
Oh yes. Yeah. What a voice too. Yeah. You know.
Yeah,
So when you said Dave Barry, I was thinking Mike Barry,
yeah,
the guy who did the tribute to Buddy Holly. Yeah, he
that's
did
right. Yeah.
that as well. But oh, I love Dave Barry's material. I loved his. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
He was
well,
great.
well, with the going back to Ivans Meads, what are your memories of being in that band? Yeah.
We released a single,
Yeah.
and the song was called what the hell was it called now? Sins of a Family, and it was by an American folk type singer, and it had absolutely nothing to do with what we were about. We played R&B, Tamla Motown, Atlantic type stuff. You know, this song was like completely alien to us. But at that time, you got signed to a label, and then you'd be allocated a producer. The producer would pick a song, and he hadn't even heard you. You know, you didn't even know you could have been a reggae band for all he knew.
Right.
And you think, oh, this could be a hit. Let's have this band. What are they called? Ivans Meads. Yeah, we'll have them do it.
Yeah.
So you meet in the studio, he'd produce it. Anyway, that particular song, it became like a mini hit. It was played all over the radio in Manchester and around, and it was played to the extent that when we started doing gigs, there'd be screaming girls and that kind of stuff there. So
Oh,
we were mini pop stars for about a year.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's my memories of that band. And by the time we released a follow-up single, we'd had it and we'd split up and everybody was going their separate ways.
Separate ways. Okay. Okay. Well, what did you do? Okay. How long were you in with Richard Kent Style? Oh,
Probably about 2.5, 3 years.
okay.
We
Okay.
went to the Bahamas 3 times. The third time we were there, at the end of it, we kind of the band more or less like splintered because by then we were all smoking pot, you know, this ganja that's coming in from Japan, and some of the guys weren't into it, so there was a kind of like a split in the band, and 4 of us went to Miami and stayed in Florida for about 6 months, seeing if we could stir up any action over there, which we couldn't. And then that eventually cracked up. We came back to England, and that's when I then went down to London and started, you know, looking for work with London type bands.
Okay. Okay. Well, did you play with any between that and Vinegar Joe?
No.
Okay. Vinegar Joe was the next.
Oh, wait a minute. No, the first, no, when I went down, the first band I got was Chicken Shack.
Oh, Chicken Shack was first. Okay.
Yeah,
Chicken
they
Shack
were
was-
looking. They put an ad in one of the music papers. I
Okay.
went down to the audition and I got it. So I was with Chicken Shack for a couple of years,
Okay. All right. All right.
playing the British circuit, doing a lot of blues clubs.
Okay. Well, that was after Christine, right?
Yeah,
Christine Perfect.
she left.
Yeah.
And the original drummer from Chicken Shack was a guy called Dave Bidwell, and he's sad to say he died of an overdose, a drug overdose. I took his place and
Okay.
joined directly after he'd gone. So And by then they got Christine Perfect had left and joined the early Fleetwood Mac, and then they just got another keyboard player in just before I joined.
Okay, okay. All right. Did you enjoy that
Yeah,
stint?
it was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed playing blues. It was a satisfying kind of music to play.
Right, right. Okay. Well, then you were on the Vinegar Joe single in '73. Looks like the
But
single.
what if I didn't play on any of their singles. I joined Vinegar Joe in
Mhm.
I think like end of '73 or something, and I did TV and recording with them, but never on any stuff that was actually recorded. When I joined, they were just in the point. I think they were about ready to split up because Robert Palmer had been
Okay.
offered a solo deal by
Oh,
Chris Blackwell, and
right.
because of that, he was leaving the band to pursue this solo deal.
Okay.
And
So you
after
weren't, so
I,
you,
you know, I didn't know at first, but after I've been in the band about 3 months, he
okay.
pulled me on one side, said, "Look, I need to tell you, I'm going to be doing a solo career. So he says,
Okay.
I'm going to be leaving the
So,
band." I went, "Oh,
so you
okay."
were, so you didn't play on the Proud to Be a Honky Woman
No, I
single?
didn't. There is
Okay.
there's a video out there of us playing doing a TV show in Germany, which I'm playing on, but the actual single I didn't play on.
Okay. Oh, okay. That was probably the reference then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's not always accurate, everything on the internet, is it?
No.
We find that out. Well, all right. But you did play on the live Chicken Shack Goodbye
Yes,
74.
I did. I
Okay.
did. I was
You did.
on that one. When you said that earlier, I'd forgotten I played on that. You're right.
Hey, I'm here to jar your memory. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
thank
here.
you. It needs jogging, believe me.
All right. Well, you must have kindled something there with Robert Palmer, because
We got
you
on
were
really well.
okay.
We got on, him and I just, we became good friends. I ended up going around to his flat in London, and we'd be writing songs and kicking ideas around. And he had some pretty sophisticated recording equipment.
Okay.
He had a Revox at the time, which was very expensive, and he could turn out really good demos just in his own flat. And he taught me how to use a Revox tape recorder to make your own demos. And I bought one, and then I started making my own demos in my flat in London. And we'd be sending each other cassette tapes. "Hey, what do you think of this? I just did this." And we ended up staying, collaborate on quite a few songs. One of the songs I wrote, he really dug it, and he put it on his album Secrets and released it as a single. It was
Yeah.
called Jealous,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was pretty cool. And then after that, later on, he did one song that I wrote, and along with, and he collaborated on it along with another friend of mine called Randy Selgren, and that ended up in the movie Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Yeah,
Wasn't that Life in Detail?
yes, and
Yes.
fortunately, lucky for me, the music business did me a favor. They put the song on the soundtrack of the album, and the album sold like 17 million copies. So suddenly I'm getting money from the music business, rather than like having a fight for every dollar.
Yeah.
So that was great, I was able to just take it easy for a few years just from the royalties from that.
Yeah. That's a nice little bonus thing right
Oh,
there.
it's weird, man. Obviously, every time Pretty Woman is on TV, which is like all the time, as this
Yes.
right now is probably on in Germany and out
Yeah.
in Mongolia or something, you get a little bit of money from it, and that kind of stops you it keeps the water level up here.
Right, right, exactly. Keeps the old wolves from the door, that kind of thing. Right, right. Wow. Yeah. How fascinating. And it took on like a life of its own, a new life. Being in that movie. Wow. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. How surreal that's got to be too, to a song that you wrote, and then to see it come to life in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
To
Yeah.
this day, I've never actually seen the movie.
Oh, you haven't. You got to
I've
watch
seen it. It's not my thing.
it. I know.
But
It's not
but
mine
who
either.
cares? That's
Right, right, right.
just send me
Now,
the money.
right, right. Well, next came Hawkwind, right? Where you would join
Yeah.
as a second drummer.
What happened there was Vinegar Joe splits up, disintegrates.
Okay.
So now I'm looking for a gig again. And the drummer in Hawkwind lived right next door to me in Kensington, which was my flat, and we were friends. And he said to me one day, he says, "Hey man, you want to I've got to take 2 weeks off. I've hurt my ribs in a football accident. You want to, can you fill in for me? They're doing a tour of Norway and Sweden. So I said, yeah, absolutely. If you're paying, I'm playing. So I went off to Norway and Sweden, did this tour with them, and it was a lot of fun. Lemmy and I got on real well. So when we got back, they said, you want to stay?
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, absolutely. No, you think I'm going to say no? So I stayed with the band and lasted for about 2.5 years, maybe a little longer. And then I always end up getting antsy when I'm in a band. And so after that, I was kind of looking, musically, it wasn't really my thing. They were great guys, had a lot of fun. You couldn't have more fun than being in a band with Hawkwind, but musically, it was not really where I'm an R&B type guy.
Oh, right.
But it was, as I say, I great guys. Wouldn't hear a bad word said against them. They're excellent people.
Yeah. Were you familiar with their music before you drummed with
I've
them?
never heard them.
Oh,
I
never
have
heard.
no idea what they're like. I went on stage and I'd say to them, "Do you want to rehearse?" "Nah, you're all right. Don't worry about it. You'll get it. You're just,
Yeah.
And I went on stage at this auditorium in Norway. I'd never heard him, so I'm sitting there. Let me go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I start playing. I have no idea what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like, but I was good at like a nod and a wink. I'd look at the bass player and he'd kind of like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And we just winged it. And anyway, it worked out.
It worked out well. Yeah, those
Well,
must have.
Hawkwind, nothing, none of the songs had any kind of difficult stops. It would start and it would get louder and then
Yeah.
softer and then louder. And that would be it. That's pretty much all.
They had two settings, loud and louder.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Wow. Well, they have quite a following, and they have over the years too. I mean,
Oh, huge. They were like Van Halen now in America, in England and Europe.
yeah. And their live shows are something else. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing. Hawkwind really were 50% music and 50% theatre.
Yeah.
They had on stage a full-size CinemaScope screen.
Right.
We have projectors, light projectors, liquid light projectors, 50 of them. And they would put on a light show that was mind-blowing. The guy who did the lights was Jonathan Smeaton, who became one of the top lighting directors you could anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So his light show was just stunning. Plus, they also had Stacia, who, most of the time would be completely nude. So you had like 18-year-old guys standing there, light show, strobe lights, nude woman, drugs.
It was a big attraction for those. Huge. Everything a young fan would want. Yeah,
everything, everywhere, all at once.
All at once.
Louder.
Right. Right. Wow.
As Lemmy said, everything louder than everything else.
Yes. Well, I like that. Well, you did play on 75's Warrior on the Edge of Time.
Yeah, I did.
Right. And then the next year, Astounding Sounds, Amazing Music, 1976. Yeah. What were your memories of those recordings?
Well, we did the first one, Warrior on the Edge of Time. We did that at the studio in Wales, Rockfield Studios.
Rockfield, yes.
Yeah. And at the time, somebody had got some magic mushrooms. So we were making tea brewed with magic mushrooms and drinking it, and then going in the studio. Whoa, yeah.
I like this studio.
Psychedelic, right? There we were. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I remember there was times you would be kind of just sitting there, and then start playing something, and somebody else would join in, and that would end up being a number.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was fun. The second album that I played on, Astounding Sounds, Amazing Music, that was recorded at a studio in London. It was much tighter recording. It was better produced. We used more advanced recording techniques. And I think the reason that thing didn't really sell very well was because the album had the album cover was terrible. It was the worst album cover you could wish for. You flip it over, and then there's one of these great Barney Bubbles covers there, you know, with amazing graphics, you know, the double-headed eagle, you know, very Nazi-ish type thing actually. But the cover that they chose was this sort of a woman smoking pot, you know, so it was terrible, and that really, and you couldn't tell it was Hawkwind, and the you know, people thought the album was by a group called Astounding, so it didn't really sell.
Yeah, astounding is in big letters. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
and there's no mention of Hawkwind anyway. You know, you just you only find that out if you pick the album and turn it over.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was that part of it was, the marketing was really bad.
Right, right. Didn't really work on that. And that relates. Wow. Okay. All right. But all in all, some decent memories from
Oh yeah.
playing on those.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. Well, continuing your association with Hawkwind, you would play on a couple of offshoot albums. Michael Moorcock, his
yeah,
1975 album New World's Fair.
yeah, he did. Yeah, what can I say? I remember it. It was again, not the kind of thing. I mean, I'll play on it. I play with it. I'll play, you know, I play if somebody calls up and says, "Hey, we need a drummer to play on a session. Are you available?" The answer is always, absolutely. How much you paying and where do you want me? You know, that happened all the time. I did sessions with all kinds of people. I did sessions with Brian Eno. I did sessions with Mark Bolan and T-Rex.
Oh,
Did
okay.
TV shows with them. I did sessions with Mark Bolan's wife, Gloria Jones. So I'll play with anybody that was paying. In fact, it got to the point. I remember one time I get the phone ring. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm in bed. I pick it up. Yeah, yeah. Can you do a session? Yeah, no problem. Put the phone down. Wake up at midnight, at noon, and go, who the hell was that?
You just said, yeah.
Didn't take a phone number. So it's yeah. So I did the New World's Fair thing, and again, not my cup of tea at all. But you know, we played on it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what do you remember from Nik Turner's Excitin' Today? Is that how you pronounce it? Excitin, Excitin'
Today, I don't know. Yeah,
Excitin' Okay.
well, that was Nick had gone to Egypt and
Okay.
got inside the Great Pyramid at Giza and recorded himself playing flute in the burial chamber. I mean, only Nik Turner could do this kind of thing, you know. Nick was really was out there. And he comes back and he's got about an hour's worth of music of him playing flute inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. So then we ended up making an album out of it, and it was produced by what's his name? I've forgotten his name. He was in Gong.
Starting out, Alan. Steve Hillage.
Steve Village.
Okay, there you go. Steve, yes, yes, yes.
So he produced it.
Yeah.
And so he ended up with this album that was about as out there as you could possibly get. It was just a whole album of flute music in this echoey chamber with, I mean, you know, you just listen to the album and you think you just take some LSD just by listening to it. And I have no idea what the record company thought of it when he came and handed them the tape they just paid for, and they're just listening going, yeah, well, how are we going to sell this? So that was
Okay, that's funny though. That's funny. Well, I want you to talk about Brian Eno. What release you worked on with him? Because I'm a big Brian Eno fan.
you know, I got that. Paul Rudolph, the guitarist, has played with Brian Eno, and Brian Eno had said to him, "Hey, I'm going to be doing some recording. Can you bring a drummer?" He said, "Yeah, I'll bring Alan Powell." So we went along to Olympic Studios in London. What Brian Eno was doing was he just likes people to get together in the studio and jam on something. He might play some keyboard stuff, and then hopefully out of that jam will come something he can use as a piece of work. And wasn't a particularly successful session for me because he actually wanted a drummer who played like a drum machine, like a krautrock thing. It's all the way through. And I wasn't playing like that at the time. I was kind of into funky stuff. So I was funking it up. And I don't think that's what he wanted. So it wasn't a very successful session. and none of it ended up on the album which he released. So
Wow.
the album's called 13 Chairs or something, and the album didn't do well either. So
Yeah. I wonder why he just didn't get a drum machine, if that's what he was looking for.
that's what I said too. I said, you know, this would be better. Just use a drum machine or make a loop of me. If you want it to sound like a human being, just make a loop of me playing that
Yeah.
kind of.
Right.
So that would have been, and a lot of this stuff he did end up using drum machines. But and it's funny because then later on he himself got into some real funky stuff with David Bowie, you know, on Station and you know, so and Let's Dance was, but you know, some sessions you do them, they all work out well. Other sessions not so good, you know. I did the stuff I did with Mark Bolan.
Yeah.
That was a piece of cake. I was on, it was a TV show, Top of the Pops, which was this massive, the biggest TV show in England, Top of the Pops music. That was just miming.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there. You know,
You're just, right.
Miming's great. I mean, you could go on stage paralytically drunk. You're not going to make it. Oh, you know?
Right.
So that was easy. And then, but then I did some sessions for his wife, Gloria Jones. She was actually a great singer. She used to sing backup for him on stage at some point, and I did a bunch of songs for her, and that turned out really well. She liked that a lot. So yeah, there's this, and I did a bunch of stuff with Robert too. We did a whole pile of demos together, some of which became songs on his album, some of which were sort of the blueprints for songs which he ended up using. I was busy all through the 70s.
I was going to say you were. Did you have time to take a breath? You know, just
not really. You know, I had a flat in Kensington, and I liked to go out to the pub at night, and I liked to smoke good pot and all that kind of stuff. It was the 70s, like everybody else. So I had to I was continuously looking for work all the time. You know, I had my ear down the ground. I'm looking, you know, I'm reading the NME for gigs. I did an audition around about this time for Badfinger. You remember that band? Oh,
did you? One of my favorite bands.
Early. I think this would be really early, maybe 72. But I see an advert. Badfinger require a drummer. Woman. I'm there. So we get to this rehearsal room in London, and outside the dolly room, there's a bench. There's about 10 drummers, all sitting on it, all with a pair of drumsticks sticking out of the back of the jeans, the Melody Maker or the NME. And then one comes in, one goes out. And then finally I got my turn, go in the rehearsal room and played about 5 or 6 tunes with Badfinger. And they were absolutely fantastic. You know, their vocals, everything, the vocal, 3-part harmony, like you've never heard it before. It was like playing with the Beatles. It's, you know, I was sitting there going,
that's what a lot of when they first came out. That's what everyone, the fans thought they were the Beatles.
And that's why they got signed by Apple, because the Beatles, holy crap, these guys are like us, you know. And I got down to the last 3 drummers, and then the original drummer decided he's not leaving, he's going to stay. So that was that. But just being able to play with them was really great, man, and they were so good.
Oh, that would be a memory right there. Yeah, I've loved their material, and it's sad that Joey Molland, the last surviving member, he just passed away.
Man, I mean, you know, talk about tragedy. I mean, 2 of them committed suicide. You know, the 2 main songwriters in the band committed suicide. I mean, and that to me is I've often thought about that. These guys are from Cardiff in Wales. They were working class guys, you know. Hang out.
Actually, 2 of the members were from Wales, and then 2 from Liverpool.
That's right.
Yeah.
But they were not the kind of people, you know. They were just regular guys, you know. The kind of those are not the people that commit suicide. You know, they go to the pub and they say fucking manager, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. But they don't, and I could never figure out why did they commit suicide. That's so alien to what they were. And what a tragedy.
Yeah, well, the record company screwed him over royally.
And the manager.
So,
you know, he misappropriated all the money, you know, the usual stuff. Where have you heard that before, you know?
Right. But I think speaking on a positive note of Wales and Welsh singers, you know, Pete Ham was the one from Wales. He was the real front man, wrote a lot of their material. What a voice. And like I said, I mean, there's been so many Welsh singers in history that are, Tom Jones, I mean, not you don't have to like his music, but he has a great vocals,
Fantastic.
great pipes, yeah. So they have that. Well, in '77, you formed the band Kicks, a touring band.
Yeah.
And you pulled in old friends Paul Rudolph from Hawkwind and Steve York from Vinegar Joe.
Yep, and Cal Batchelor,
Cal Batchelor
who'd been
from
playing with Sutherland Brothers and Quiver.
Quiver. Yes, I was going to say
And what
I did an
happened?
interview. Go
That
ahead.
band, yeah, that band lasted for maybe 4 or 5 months. We put it together
Oh,
just to see if we could stir any action up, maybe get a record deal, that kind of thing, do a few gigs. But it didn't. But after we'd done it, everybody else is thinking about leaving. In my mind, I'm thinking I got to get out of England. So it wasn't serious enough for us to stay with it. We just after one gig, we said, "Hey, it's been fun, guys. Let's call it. See you later. All the best, everybody." But it was a good little band. I mean, very competent musicians.
I was going to say Quiver, Sutherland Brothers and Quiver. I followed them. I've got a couple of the CDs. Really like that sound. In fact, I did a written interview with Gavin Sutherland a few years ago. Gavin, one of the Sutherland brothers, in that. So he's a really nice guy. Still recording today, still doing that and playing, I believe. Well, how did you and Mick Farren meet and begin working together?
Well, okay, so when I was in Hawkwind, one of my oldest buddies that I'd met around about the same time as I joined Hawkwind was Larry Wallace, who was in the Pink Fairies.
Okay, right.
And Larry and Mick Farren were best of buddies. So I'm playing in Hawkwind, but at the same time I'm hanging out with Larry at his flat in London, and Mick's there, and Mick Farren is working up these deals with some record companies to do some Mick Farren the Deviant stuff.
Yes.
So they say, "Hey, can you do it with us?" I said, "Sure." So we did an EP for Stiff Records called Screwed Up. I think I did that. For some reason, I decided I'm not going to be Alan Powell. I call myself Ty Sticks on that one, which is
did you
self-explanatory, right?
Sure. I want to hold this up real quick.
Oh yeah, there it is.
It's a box set. It's a box set. Now, what was let's see, he's got to be on here because I think it has just about let's see, Mick Farren. Let's see, Mick. I don't know if it's alphabetical. Yeah, here he is. He's here. Yep, he's on here. Wow. Yeah, it's got all the artists that recorded on Stiff Records.
Great. Oh, that's excellent. Good.
So go ahead, back to the story.
Oh yes. So we would get together, hang out, do some recording for that, but for that Stiff record. And then there was another company we did another album called Vampires Stole My Lunch Money.
Yes, I love that title.
That was for another a record company, Ogo Records, if I remember rightly. This is all Farren's idea, and Mick Farren was a great lyricist. The guy was a fabulous writer, and Larry would provide all the guitar parts for his songs. We did that album, and we did a bunch of gigs to support the album all over the south of England, which was a bucolic, completely alcoholic affair. It was a lot of fun. And then towards the end of that, I got somehow transitioned into Tanz Der Youth with Brian J. the Down.
Right.
And I got Andy Cahoon from the Pink Fairies, who played on all the Mick Farren stuff, to play bass. Yeah. And then there was Brian James and a keyboard player, Tony Moore. And we released one single on Radar Records, which was the Andrew Lauder label, the 3-song EP. We did a few gigs, and then that band split up because it was for all kinds of reasons. At that point, I had decided that I was making all my plans to get out, and I was almost ready to bail on the UK.
Okay.
So that was a major.
Okay. Well, I wanted to mention first an RIP out to Brian James. Sadly, his passing earlier this year.
Yeah, how strange. I mean, he was 70 years old.
Right. He wasn't that old at all. No.
I'm shocked I heard that. He was a great guitarist, very original songwriter, excellent musician.
Right. and with the Damned especially, yeah, he did. And then later on with Lords of the New Church,
Yeah,
and then and Stiv Bators would die very young, yeah,
right.
like that. It's well, wow, yeah. So you did with Tanz Der Youth, you did do a Peel session.
We did, yeah. John
Yeah,
Peel.
yeah.
Boy, I've forgotten about that too.
That's something to put in your CV. I mean,
Yeah,
he would champion so many bands,
yeah, he did.
on his
He,
show.
he
And
championed Hawkwind.
yeah,
John
right.
Peel was he was a big reason Hawkwind got a deal because he kept saying this band Hawkwind, he loved them.
Right, exactly. Did you know? Do you know where he history lessons where he got his start on DJing? Do you know where he started? John Peel in Oklahoma. I want to say Oklahoma City. That's where.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Huh?
Isn't that something? He started over here and then went
Yeah.
back home and made it big there. But yeah, over here at that time, I guess it must have been early '60s, early to mid '60s. Um, he being from Liverpool, with that accent.
Yeah.
Of course, Americans loved anything Liverpool, the Beatles. We love
Yeah.
that. So anybody with that accent is going to, be popular over here.
Yeah.
So I think that had a lot to do with his,
Yeah.
getting his DJ slot on radio. So yeah. Well, also another thing with Tanz Der Youth, that you guys would support Black Sabbath on
Yeah.
UK leg of Never Say Die tour.
Yep, we did. And I have to say here, I absolutely can't stand Black Sabbath or any of that kind of music. To me, it's just I associate it with
Yeah. Hey.
people with an IQ approximately that of their shoe size. That's the kind of music they like to listen to. That whole era of British heavy metal, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, yada yada yada, just awful. Bloody.
Right.
But
Yeah.
a lot of
Yes.
people,
Well,
a lot of people think,
yeah. Now Aussie's
so we
rolling.
would do it.
Yeah.
But we were the wrong band. We kind of looked a bit new wave-ish, So the Black Sabbath, they say,
yeah.
who the fuck's this? So
Right.
they'd be throwing things out on stage.
I was going to say, yeah, you guys didn't get a very warm
after about 6 gigs, we got off the tour. I don't know if we got kicked off or whether the manager just withdrew us because it was just absolutely dead. It was oil and water.
Yes, I was going to say, in the history of concerts and gigs, there's been some odd pairings like that, like yours.
No, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, some of the organizers or what the labels, record labels, whatever, where their minds were with some of these. They're just like you said, oil and water, and you just and you're going to get that reaction because most of them were out there to see Black Sabbath, the fans.
The other thing about that, we were playing in places like Newcastle on Tyne, Manchester, and then finally we did 2 days in Birmingham. And Birmingham is, in my opinion, the absolute anus of Europe. It's one of the most ugly cities you could possibly think of. And after being there for 2 days and then having to listen to Black Sabbath in the evening, that was it for me. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm gone. I can't take any more of this.
Well, I've never heard it put that way, but I don't think we're going to have too many Birmingham fans watching this, so I think it's safe. But to top things off, before you moved, you played at Nik Turner's Bohemian Love-In, right?
Yep.
How was that? What kind
Bohemian.
It was very bohemian.
Very bohemian.
Okay. Okay. It was all right.
Whenever Hawkwind, and in particular when Nick did a gig, you'd get every space cadet within a 50-mile radius showing up with some kind of, hey, can I play on stage with you? And Nick would always say, of course you can. You'd be surrounded by these people who some kind of a mouth organ.
Right, a mouth organ.
And then the crowd would be just completely spaced out. I mean, it was very bohemian.
Okay, that was the appropriate word for it then. Okay.
Oh,
Well, we already know. I was going to ask you why the move, but now I know the move, why
oh
you
yeah,
moved. But that was in 79? You relocated?
79.
Okay, okay. All right. All right. Well, how long had you been here before you formed Joe Allen and the Shapes?
Pretty much, I got over. I arrived in America in like May '79. Then I moved down to San Francisco and put the shapes together pretty much right away. I got very lucky. I bumped into a guy and we got talking, and he knew a bass player and another guitarist, and they get together and play. There was no drummer, so initially I got them together as a band, and I was the drummer. But we were doing all of my songs.
Okay.
All the songs we did pretty much were mine, and there was nobody to sing them. And I can't sing and play drums. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I ended up becoming the singer, and we
Okay.
got a drummer to play drums. And that was odd because my voice is at best mediocre. I'm not a singer, I'm a drummer, but I can kind of somehow make it passable to go on a stage with. But it seemed to work because we went out as a new wave band,
Yeah.
and that we dressed the part, we looked the part.
Yeah.
The tunes that we played were definitely, no longer hard rock. They were very much a new wave kind of a feel. And San Francisco being this very forward thinking and contemporary kind of a place, they loved it. And the band became very popular.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
how did you come up with the name Joe Allen?
my name is Alan Joseph Powell, so I just flipped the two first names around. I just wanted to
Okay.
create a character,
Okay.
like with a nom de plume. I didn't, Alan Powell was a drummer, and I
Yeah.
needed to become this frontman singer. So I had to adopt, fit into a different personality in order to do that.
Okay. Okay. Well, you who else was in the band? Did you?
We had two guitar. We had Randy Selgren, who was a great guitarist. Doug Hamblin, who was also a great guitarist. Krista Lloyd, who was our drummer, who was a great drummer, and Steve Washington, bass player. Who have lot. Unfortunately, he's gone missing in action. We don't know where he is, but all the other three we're still in touch.
Oh, you're still in touch. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we put a single out uh,
Yes.
on a local record label called 415 Records, which at the time was really, it was the stiff records of San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. They've had a lot of those, like you said,
Yeah, they had a lot of.
new wave bands on on that label. Yeah. Yeah. Crying Over You and Low Life.
That's
Uh,
right.
and then the song Shimmy Shimmy would appear on a compilation, 415 music
Yeah,
compilation.
yeah. They put that on a compilation.
Yeah. Well, and you said your voice was kind of mediocre on the recordings. Did
Oh
you
yeah, on the record.
use any voice emulation or any effects or anything?
No,
No. Okay.
no. Normally you could sort of you could get away with it at that point because you didn't have to be a lot of those bands, particularly a lot of the punk bands. We weren't a punk band. We were a new wave power pop band. But a lot of the punk bands, they couldn't even play. I mean, they just looked right and they had the right attitude and they held the guitar. That's all you needed. So
Right.
there was a little bit of that there. I couldn't really sing very well, but I looked right. I wore the right kind of clothes and I had the right attitude. So that was 90% of the requirement right there.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That's what it's about, the attitude, like you said,
Yeah,
like,
it was all attitude and the way you presented yourself, and getting away from the long hair bands like Journey and REO Speedwagon and Kansas and all those boring bands that were just like wouldn't go away.
they wouldn't go away. Just go away, please. Just...
Really. There was
Well, yeah,
that point where people were looking for
yeah,
something new. They were
yeah.
sick of that kind of stuff.
Right, right. Well, I know that label sounded familiar. A couple of three bands that I like that recorded on 415. Romeo Void,
Yep,
Translator.
yep.
You
And
remember Translator?
also Pearl Harbor and the Explosions.
Yes, Pearl Harbor and the Explosion.
Yep,
And then one more, Wire Train. I like
that's
Wire
right.
Train. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So wow, Rocky Erickson
Mm,
did as well. Wow,
yeah.
that's
No, it was a great little label.
yeah. Had not some nice bands on there. Okay. Wow. Well, then fast forwarding up into the 90s, you would reunite with Hawkwind and play with them on North American tours.
Well, it was just this was Nick. It was Nik Turner, and he had me. Um, let's see, Del Detmar and and Simon House. So there was four members of Hawkwind, and they called it Nik Turner's Hawkwind.
Okay.
And he got, I think he got sued by Dave Brock and the original, some of the other members of Hawkwind for using the name. But we did a North American tour, and then later we went to Japan and did a couple of dates in Japan.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was just a more like a one-off or a two-off, more like it. Again, fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Nothing,
Always fun.
nothing.
They had some big, it's a lot of fans in Japan, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Is that the furthest you've played?
That's it. After
Yeah.
that, I kind of then I got to the point where I was kind of had enough of just, I've been playing clubs, bars, auditoriums, since I was 16 years old. And round about now, I'm kind of just getting a little bit fed up of doing the same old thing. Plus, hanging around in those kind of places is not good for your health.
No, it's
Because
not.
you're surrounded by alcohol and cocaine and other drugs and all that.
Right.
So I kind of stepped away from the scene and just focused on writing some songs and doing that kind of thing. And
Okay.
I'm not, and I have not been back. I didn't get back into the scene.
Right.
My main thing then was to just try and send songs to people, to try and get them to record it, because nothing's easier than getting a royalty check. You don't have to go on the road or anything. So
Right.
that's what I was doing after that. And so my main scene was like all through the 70s, early 80s. And then from then on, I kind of like took a back seat.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay.
glad I did, because
Yeah.
now I look back on it and so many of my friends from that era, from that period, are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they died 10, 15 years ago.
Right. They
You know,
lived they lived hard. They lived hard and fast, didn't they?
yeah.
Yeah, back
Yeah,
then.
it's,
You're right. You're right. And I know, talking to so many musicians and stuff, like yourself, they talk about the enticements there, the lures, like you talked about, the drugs and alcohol and all that.
and then there's the whole lifestyle thing. You're on a plane, you're in a Holiday Inn in Kansas City or something like that. The food's lousy. You most of the time you're eating in Burger Kings, that kind of thing. Then you're on a plane eating aircraft food. Then you're sleeping in some hotel, and then it's and then alcohol, drinks, the other stuff. Dangerous sex with weirdo women that could, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
glad to be out of it. I had a great time, and I look back at it, it was such a lot of fun, but I'm glad I got out of it when I did.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
old now, but I'm still here, so.
You're still here. And you were single. Were you single throughout the whole time, or
All the
did you get
time.
married?
I didn't get married till I was 56 years old before I got married. I
Okay.
didn't want to rush into anything at an early
You
age.
didn't want to rush. You want to take your time,
I said, and I'll be careful. I'll
huh?
wait.
Well, I was older too. Let's see, 40, 41. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's late.
I think I'm actually glad I did it, because by that time I'd matured enough to be able to sustain a relationship.
Right. That's a key. That's a key.
Yeah.
So many of them, got married while they were in bands and all that, and it's hard to balance family and being in the band. Yeah,
I
yes,
don't know how people do that.
yeah.
The guy from Talking Heads, Chris, the drummer, and the bass player, they've been married for like 40 years or something.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And they're in
yeah,
the same band.
right. And it's exactly,
Not easy. Tina Weymouth, yeah, it's good for them.
yeah, they're doing something. I don't know, but yeah, it takes a lot more strong-willed people to handle that kind of thing, I guess, you know.
Sure does.
I think you made the right choice. I think you
Yeah,
did.
I'm totally happy. I'm very happy. I don't want to do any more gigs. I don't want to.
No, you're not. That doesn't tempt you at all, huh? No, that was a part a page, you know, several pages of history.
Caveat. If somebody said, "Hey, we're going to pay you a whole shitload of money just to come and play this gig," okay, I could be persuaded. But as for, "Hey, you want to come and play this bar? You know, we might make $100 out of it." No.
Just don't hang up before you find out where it's going to be or who it is, you know. like that one in Midnight. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't turn that down, of course, you know. But that's probably not very likely, right? You know,
Right.
at this point in time. Wow. Okay. Well, what have you been doing since you
I've
stopped?
become an astronomer.
Oh, all
Last,
right.
last
All
15 years, I've become an avid astronomer. I joined the San Francisco Amateur Astronomers
right.
and
Okay.
my local astronomy club called the Marin Stargazers.
Okay.
We met last night actually on the top of a mountain. There's a mountain here in the Bay Area called Mount Tamalpais, and it's a dark spot. You get to the top of that, and there's no street lights, and it's
Yeah.
relatively dark. You need a dark area in order to do good astronomy.
Yes. Yes, you do.
And that's been my passion now for like quite some time. We go to schools and let school kids see some amazing sights. Because when
Yeah.
people look for a good
Yeah.
telescope and
Right.
it's
Right.
just the moon, it blows their minds.
Right.
We show them something like Saturn and they see that yellow planet with the rings around it. Oh my God,
It, it is fascinating. It is that.
So
So go ahead. What were you
so
gonna say?
that's what I do now. I'm now an astronomer.
Okay. So you follow the eclipses and things like that.
In fact, I
Okay.
went at the last total eclipse we had here in North America was in 1970, and it was in Wyoming. And I flew to Wyoming and stayed at the hotel right there it's a ski resort. I forget the name of it. But my club, the San Francisco Amateur Astronomer, we booked space on this mountain, 12,000 feet high. So we went up to the top of this mountain and we saw the eclipse, the total eclipse, and it was absolutely a stunning thing to see. I mean, it's absolutely amazing thing. The other thing really weird about it, when you're on top of 12,000 of a mountain, you can see everywhere for 50 or 60 miles in a 360-degree radius, right?
Yes.
You can
Yes.
see the shadow of the eclipse
Right.
coming towards you from 50 miles away. Heading
Yes.
toward you at 600 miles an hour, you see it coming, you go, whoa, here it comes, coming closer, and then when it hits you, and then the sun is just blowing up.
Right. Right.
Amazing thing.
Yeah.
Not something you don't forget that kind of thing.
No, you don't. I watched the one, the solar eclipse last year. It was in April of last year, and we were one of the spots here in Texas that had a pretty good
Oh,
view of
that's
it.
right.
You know, you had to be, in certain areas like
Yeah,
that,
right. Yeah.
but it was very wild. I mean, we're out there watching. We had our protective glasses on,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it went not completely dark, but just dark. I mean, it was dimmer than it was when the sun was out, and just like wow,
Yeah. It's amazing because you're standing there and
Uh,
it's like 80 degrees in the middle of summer, and then as soon as the eclipse, it got
Yeah.
cold.
and we did. The temperature dropped.
Somebody
Yeah,
just turned the heat off, so you're
yeah,
standing on top
right.
of a mountain going, whoa, man. And then the eclipse passes and it's 80 degrees again,
Then it's warm again.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
After you've seen it, you can understand how, primitive peoples would really think this is the end, it's the end
Yes. Yes. Right. Yes, you would.
for
Yes, you would.
themselves, sacrificing virgins and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you would.
It's a stunning thing to see.
Yeah. Well, what's so fascinating about that is primitive people were more in touch with their environment than we
Yeah.
are.
Stigma.
I mean, because of those things, they would worship, maybe there were false gods, but they would worship nature and
Yeah,
the planets. Yeah.
absolutely.
Like that. Wow. Oh, that is. I like that. It's very interesting that you're into that. Keep me posted. Anything that you hear of, any other
I will.
eclipses or whatever
I will keep you. I'll
any-
keep you posted about it.
that might be interesting to check out. Yeah, check out. All right. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Alan, for doing this.
Thank you, Greg. Very interesting talking to you.
Well, it's been very interesting and enjoyable for me, as you could tell all the times that I'm laughing. So that's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
a good sign, you know.
When you send me a link so that I can watch the video when you.
I will. I usually it's like a week later. I'll edit, you know, out
Take
edit
your time.
things like that, and then send you a copy. You'll have a
Yeah,
copy.
that'd be great. I'd love to see.
And you can post it on your Facebook or wherever you'd like to, and share it with people. You know,
Will
share it
do.
with your friends and all that. Okay,
Will
and
do.
we'll do. And all the best to you. Okay.
Same to you, Greg. Great talking with you.